Storytime. Hey Frankie, I have a theory about the most recent Hosier album being all about how he discovered pegging. That's what I think that album is about. You should absolutely listen to it and give me your opinion. That is all.
Oh no, you haven't told her about the PowerPoint presentation you prepared. With the annotated lyrics.
I absolutely could make that.
You're absolutely good. Take me to church, then pound me in the ass with a... Something like that, right?
Insert object of your choice.
Yeah. So to speak. That was the working title for the album.
Very good. It was really the song Shrike, where he keeps on saying, like a shrike to your shy and glorious thorn. It's about pegging.
I'm just seeing that butterfly dream. Just you. Is this about pegging?
Hello.
Hey, guess what Nick's learning on the guitar?
What?
Storytime.
Oh, he doesn't want anyone to know.
Oh, okay.
No, now you've just made a big thing out of nothing.
Is it a song from the most recent Hosier album?
There's a new Hosier album.
It was released in 2019, so no.
Wasteland Baby.
Wasteland, baby.
The original title was Dumpster Baby, and they're like, oh no, that's
Dumpster baby.
that's too dark.
And they had to put a comment in there. Wasteland, comma, baby.
Yeah. I really like the position of the lamp where it is within the room. But whenever we're on camera, it looks like I've achieved critical velocity. And I'm about to fucking...
Yeah, that's true.
Because
It looks like we've got, like, angel ghosts in the house or something. I thought it was going to be nice and, like, gentle lighting, but alas, no.
can I disappear into the halo enough that I get a fucking Gandalf the White going?
What?
I need a sword.
I have no swords to hand. That's really remiss of me. They're all downstairs.
In all seriousness, we did have a spring cleaning in December when we got rid of our excess swords.
Oh.
Most of mine are still in storage in the UK, but I do have 3 in the house.
What kind of swords?
I have a French cavalry saber, I have a German longsword, and I have a Viking single-hander.
Man, I love a German longsword.
They're pretty high.
Yeah. Yeah.
I own 4, I think, plus a feather. So I used to train with them before I knackered my hands.
I have been doing a little bit. And back in 2019, before this.
The unpleasantness.
Before the unpleasantness. So I was learning a little bit of German longsword. So I've done some classes, but I've not been to a sparring thing yet because I'm just scared. But also, like, yeah, need to get a helmet and stuff. And they're very personal. I don't want to use the ones in the
Oh yeah.
because they get so sweaty and then
They have a visible.
When I'm back in the UK, I will have a dig through what protective gear I've got, because I've got things like gloves that are barely used.
Oh yeah, man! I was looking for gloves as well. That's like the big thing.
I have at least 3 pairs because I was trying to find ones that would give me maximum protection.
Yeah,
But
that would be amazing.
I'm never going to use them again, so I'll happily pass them on.
That would be fantastic. Thank you. What size are your hands? Do you have big hands, small hands?
I do have big hands, yeah.
I do have big hands also, so this is ideal.
Cool.
Do you want any money for them?
No. Put them to good use.
That's really kind of you. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. They're only taking up space now, so I'll never spar longsword again. So.
What was the longsword? What did your hands in?
No, my hands are a genetic problem. But anything that hits several of my knuckles now is just agony, even through padding. So.
Yeah.
I might do a bit of rapier, and I'll keep doing longsword kind of pell work, but I'm not going to spar again. It's just not worth it. It hurts too damn much.
Yeah, that makes sense. Shame though.
Alternately, you have become a living weapon.
You have become a living what?
You have transcended the need for like mortal blades.
You should at least tell people that.
Yeah, you're just like you've gone full John Wick now.
Yes.
With a pencil.
With a fucking pencil. Yeah.
I have a friend of mine in France who's a blacksmith. He custom makes swords. And I'm somewhat tempted to get him to make me a sword gun.
Oh, like an Apache pistol or something.
There's some early flintlock pistols attached to blades. And in the UK, I don't know if I need to renew it. I probably need to renew it now, but I've certainly had a black powder license in the UK.
Okay, wow.
I used to own a couple of cannon. Hello, Frank.
Hi, Frankie. Welcome to Sword Chat.
Wait, real swords or, like...
Real swords.
Real swords.
Although...
now you come to mention
does have a fascinating theory about Hosier.
I have given you a little something to think about that you should look at the beginning of this recording.
When no one else arrived, we were just speaking directly to future Frankie with like a little Easter egg.
Yeah. Well, people will be able to hear it in the what do you call it? Catch-up crew anyway.
Catch-up crew?
Yeah.
Well.
Lyric, are you more blue than usual?
I am. I was green before and now I am blue.
Yeah.
It looks amazing.
Yeah.
Thanks. Yeah, this is what I did this morning.
It looks so freaking good. How's that ass?
Oh, it's still blue. Like my back is. I have never spaced out in the shower while rinsing out hair dye before, but the water started to get warm, which means that like the color will seep out and stick to your skin. Or like if I say had pink in there, like the blue would stick to the pink and it would turn to purple if I use warm water, like they'd bleed together. Anyways, Alex is gonna have to help me out with washing my back and butt because like I got my hands pretty well. They're mostly better.
Amazing.
Yeah, it just got warm and I was like, ooh, warm and toasty after the really cold water. And then I opened my eyes and looked down and was like, oh, fuck. I made a mistake.
Okay. Picture this. Next time, get some like sticky black plastic and cut a bunch of shapes out of the sticky black plastic and stick them all over your body, and then go in the shower and deliberately sort of blue rinse your skin, and then you can peel off the shapes and you'll have like little like reverse tattoos of.
You could do stars. You could be a sky.
That is so much better than just like having these not quite zebra stripes across my back right now.
Well, your hair looks fantastic though, so that worked.
Thanks. Yeah, at least I know the color still looks good on my head for the amount of blue that I had to clean out of my bathtub / off my body. And it wasn't hard to clean. I'll give it that. For the top at least.
Hey, Ariane, I like that top you're wearing. Is it a waffle print top?
No, it's like a. Is my mic on?
It is, yes.
Oh yeah. It's a fluffy pajama. Sorry, it's 10 in France. I'm always like in my PJs. It's like really soft. Wait.
So soft.
Yeah, it's like soft. Oh my god, the matching.
You look like such a soft bean.
Yeah, it's like pilu pilu. It's like all soft little fleece.
That's cute. That's very cute.
Yeah,
That's very
my friend got a similar one for Christmas, and I spent Christmas with my friend Rachel, and she got a really similar one, and I was like, I need a soft pajama in my life. And she was like, I got another one from the same person last year, and I've never worn it. Have it? And I was like, yes. And I've been wearing it like, because I've been so ill and like just staying at home, I've just been wearing it like every day.
I'm so glad that you have such a lovely soft thing to cocoon your standard.
Yeah. And it's kind of like, it's now, my hair used to be the same color as Lyric, and now it's all going away.
I was gonna ask if it matched because it looks so close to the same right now.
It used to be blue. It used to be blue, but now it's starting to match the shade of the pajama. But it used to be really dark blue, like really like electric. You can't see because it's like a little light. But yeah.
No, we can totally see. That is so satisfying. I love that your hair matches your jammy.
But yeah, it used to be the same color before. The same color as yours.
Hey Andy. Hey Zach. Who else have we got? Oh, we've possibly got a Lisa. Hi Kate. Hi everybody. So we've nearly finished the flan. It continues to be the best substance that has ever. You gotta try this flan recipe. It's so silky and creamy, and like when you put your fork, the kind of edge of your fork into the top of it, it just like kind of divots down like that, and then like just the way the fork sinks in to this fucking flan. I've never wanted to put my dick in something so badly.
In France, like quite a while ago, because obviously they're like those flan are like really popular in France, and you can buy like little individual one that like come in plastic bits, and you pop them out, and all the caramel like goes in it. There was a bit of a trend where people would like put them and go like, and just like the whole thing would just like pop in their mouth. And I feel like you. Do you know that one, Kate? Did I show it to you?
You might have showed it to me. I definitely know it.
Yeah, there's a brilliant video where there's like a dad and his little girl, and he puts her little like flamby, which is the brand, on the thing, and he's like, okay, time to eat your flamby, and then he goes like on her shoulder. He's like, oh, you've got a little thing, and she goes like this, and he goes, oh, and he just eats the flan. It's instantaneous, and then she goes, oh, who ate my flan? And he does it like 3 times, and he's like, you ate it now, time to go. And he's like, okay, I'll give you another one, but this time you really have to eat it. And it's so brilliant. But you should try that with your flan and film it.
I don't have a child. Like,
no, but you should just try inhaling it. See if it's it sounds like the perfect texture.
But could you do it to Martin? Because he's not here right now, right? So you can talk with Martin, and every time he looks away.
I'm sure he
will. That. Should I link the video on the group?
Definitely.
Yes,
definitely.
Please.
Yeah, it's in French, but it's quite easy to understand what's going on.
I would support that very much.
Thank you.
Hello. Story time. Okay. Ooh. I think you're gonna like this one. Right, buddy. Right.
Ash is excited.
Right. Hi, Ash. Okay, Ash, I'm going to mute you, but it's nothing personal. I'm muting everybody. Now. Do we? Oh, Duncan. Okay, goodbye, Duncan. Bye, Duncan. We don't have a Mike Cox yet. Is that correct? Should we say hello to him? Should we leave a hello for him? Mike, hello.
And hi, future Duncan.
Future Duncan. Okay. Right. How wholesome. Now, are you sitting comfortably? Has everybody inhaled their flan? And I'll begin. There's an island, Percy interrupts. No, it's not. It's a tomb. Not in the Bible. In Venice. I read about it in one of the books. An island off the coast with a chapel on it called Santa Maria in Mata. The room seems to hush around us, the soft flutter of pages suddenly shivering and ghostly. Mary and Martha, I say. Lazarus's sisters. Probably a coincidence. Probably, he says, though neither of us sounds as though we really believe that. We both let that seep into us for a moment like ink into blotting paper. Outside the window, the sun shifts behind a cloud, casting the room into shadow. Then, under the table, Percy nudges my shin with his foot. So, tell me the end. The end of what? After Christ shows up at Lazarus's tomb. Oh! So, the man himself shows up at Lazarus's tomb, and the sisters and their friends are all wondering what he's doing there, for Lazarus is very dead by then. And Jesus asks the sisters if they believe in him and God and life after death and all that. And they say, yes, fine, but it would have been brilliant if you'd come when we first called, because then our brother might still be alive. And then Jesus says, well, watch this. Really? Well, watch this. That's biblical language. If your Bible is written by Henry Montague. He's grinning at me, and I open my mouth to reply, but realize suddenly that beneath the table, he's still got his foot on my leg. It's such a light touch, I don't notice it until he shifts, toe hooking around the back of my calf, which knocks me straight off course, thoughts dashed to pieces against his touch. It's something like that. His foot slides down my leg, pulling my sock out of place, and dear God, it is stirring in me every sinful desire that I'm rather sure the Bible frowns upon. It's take away the stone or something like that, but my version is a bit better. Did you say your version is a bit better than the Bible? Well, the Bible's stale. Not sure what God's going to make of that assessment. I swallow as his foot shifts against my leg again. I'm starting to sweat from the effort of keeping still. I think I'm going to have worse than revising scripture to answer for when he and I meet. He laughs, close-mouthed and breathy. So, Lazarus comes back from the dead. Is that how it ends? Walks out of the tomb as though nothing was ever wrong. We look at each other across the table. Our faces feel closer than they did when I first sat down, both of us with our hands clasped before us like we're praying over supper. Percy's got such fine hands, larger than mine, with thin, graceful fingers and round knuckles a bit too big for him, like a puppy still growing into its paws. For a delirious moment, I am possessed by the insanity the poets hath called love, and it makes me want to reach forward and take both those hands in mine. He has got his foot making its tortuous ascent upward, after all, which feels like an invitation. But before I can, he frowns suddenly and peers under the table. Has that been your leg all this while? What? He unhooks his foot from around my calf. I thought it was the chair. Sorry about that. Dear Lord, why didn't you say something? Before I can reply, there's a flump at the end of the table and we both start. Felicity has slammed her alchemy book down between us and is standing over it with her palms flat on the cover and her elbows straight. Did you finish already? Percy asks. In the second I looked away from him, he's gone and tucked those fine hands out of sight. I skimmed, she replies, and I knew some from the lecture. It's scientifically sound as far as I can tell, though I'd always heard alchemy was being disproved. Mostly his book is a summary of the principles, the purification of objects and returning them to their most perfect state. But then there's a chapter at the end, hardly even a real chapter, it's practically a footnote, about artificial panaceas. What does that mean? I ask. One of the pillars of alchemy is creating a single item or compound that heals all ailments and restores the body to its perfect state, she explains. There's no universal one in existence. Mostly they're plants and things that work as antidotes to a wide range of poisons. Like the chemicals in the study, Percy offers. Right. But it seems that when Mateo Robles died, his work was primarily focused upon the creation of a universal panacea that's synthesized inside a human heart. How would that work? I ask. Well, his theory is that the component missing from previous attempts to create a panacea was life. He believed that were the correct alchemical reaction to occur within it, a beating heart could be turned into a sort of philosopher's stone, and then the blood pumped from that heart would take on the same healing properties. I scrub my hands through my hair, tearing a few strands from its queue. A beating heart and open veins is an altogether different thing than the chemicals in a vial I was expecting. What if he succeeded? Percy asks. Maybe whatever in the box has something to do with finding the person with that heart. Or making it. Perhaps that's what the Duke is after. It seems ill-advised for one man to have access to something like that, particularly one with his hands in so many political pies. Felicity looks over at me and scowls. What's that face for? What face? You look put out. I was thinking about all that blood. I nearly shudder. Doesn't it make you a bit squeamish? Ladies haven't the luxury of being squeamish about blood, she replies, and Percy and I go fantastically red in unison. 18. The opera is Friday evening. Helena reminds us over breakfast that morning. Dante nearly faints. I have a strong sense both that this is his first time out of the house in a long while, and that he's not going willingly. We haven't clothes fit for the outing, so Dante lends Percy a wine-coloured suit, noticeably too short in the sleeves, but they're built similar enough that it's passable. I get black silk breeches and an emerald coat that swallows me, but it's the only thing that fits in the tails and the cuffs after I roll them. Twice. It's my father's, Dante says, with seemingly no understanding of how disconcerting it is to be wearing a dead man's clothes. When I come into the bedroom, all attempts to convince my shoulders to fill out a smidge abandoned. Percy's perched upon the bed, still not dressed. He's got one leg pulled under him and his violin clenched between his chin and his shoulder. A set of weathered sheet music is spread before him. Is that the music Dante picked? I ask. He nods, the violin bobbing. It doesn't translate as well as I hoped. It's all written for the glasses. Well, old-fashioned too. Let me hear. He twists the end of his bow, arranges his fingers, then plays the first line of the song. It's got a formal sound to it, swallowed and courtly, until Percy confuses his fingering and the string squeak. He whips the violin out from beneath his chin with a frown, then tries the measure again, plucking out the strings instead of bowing them, with no real mind for the timing. That was beautiful, I say. Percy jabs me with his bow right to the stomach, and I flinch with a laugh. You are a menace. What's that one called? He squints at the title. The Vanitas Vanitatum. Oh. His brow creases. This is the song. What song? The one Dante mentioned. The summoning song for the spirits of the dead. Trying to call the soul of Matteo Robles? He might be the only one in this damn house willing to tell us about his work. Percy sets his violin on the bed, then reaches for the clean shirt laid over the headboard, already pulling his arm through his own sleeve. How soon are we leaving? Not sure, I reply, forcing myself to avert my eyes as he pulls the shirt over his head. I'll meet you below, shall I? I snatch up my shoes from beside the door and flee. I'll not torment myself with a half-naked Percy any more than is absolutely necessary. Entirely clothed Percy is almost more than I can bear. Dante seems to be hoping that if he sulked above stairs for long enough, he might be accidentally left behind. And I can't imagine Helena is very quick in dressing without a maid, so I assume I'll be the first one down. The study door is shut, and I pause beside it, tempted to try the handle. My fingers brush the latch when, from behind the door, I hear Dante's voice pitched in a whine. I nearly jump out of my skin. Why does it matter if we keep them here? We need to wait, I hear Helena say, but the rest of her sentence is drowned out by Percy starting up with the violin again from above. I wish dearly I could throw something at him through the floorboards. I lean into the door, pressing my ear flat against it. Perhaps they can be persuaded into silence, or they aren't interested. They're obviously interested. But they seem so reasonable. Haven't you learned that many seemingly reasonable people are far from it? There's a shuffling click, like pearls sliding against each other as a strand is tugged. You'll see him tonight. We're running out of time. What if he isn't? I'm certain he'll be there. He always goes to play with the magistrates. Then he won't speak to me anymore. I've pestered him too often. It has to be you. But I don't. Please, Dante. If he could only come home. A shuffling. Dante mumbles something I can't make out. You'd let him rot away without trying everything, Helena hisses. We keep them here until... The door opens suddenly, and I about go face first into Helena's breasts, an impropriety so grand it might distract from my being caught eavesdropping. I catch myself on the doorframe and straighten, making a fruitless attempt at playing casual. Helena and Dante are both at the threshold of the study, Helena with one hand down the front of her dress, adjusting the tucker. Her sack gown is pale pink, the colour of rose quartz, with a pannier beneath and her waist pulled so narrow that everything else is pushed upward. Suddenly, nosing into her breasts doesn't seem like such a terrible fate. I thought you were above, she says. No, just waiting. We stare at each other for a moment longer. I adopt my best, I was certainly not eavesdropping, smile. Helena's eyes narrow. Coach, Dante murmurs and darts down the hallway. The front door slams so hard the vials in the study cabinet tremble. Thank God Percy appears on the stairs behind me at that moment, his violin case under one arm. I think I've... Oh, where's Dante gone? I thought I heard him. Hailing a coach, Helena replies, shouldering past me and into the hallway. We need to go. Yes. Percy sets his violin inside the study door. Felicity should be down soon. Helena is still staring at me. That coat, she says suddenly. Fashion was the last thing I expected her to remark upon. A shift in the shoulders and the whole thing settles upon me like a snowdrift. Bit big. It's my father's. Oh, Dante said I could. I know, she says, turning down the hallway before I can see her face. Just a statement of fact. We arrive at the opera too early to be fashionably late. The singing hasn't begun, but the footlights are being trimmed. The opera house is bright and chaotic, far less gaudy than the one in Paris, but twice as loud. The chandeliers glimmer like sunlight on water. The footman's gallery is stuffed, aisles crowded with young men coasting up and down for company. In the boxes, women play cards and eat cream-filled pastries brought to them on silver trays. Men are discussing politics. When the singing begins, the noise is amplified as everyone raises their voices to be heard over it. The standing crowd on the stage kick their legs and shuffle from foot to foot, already weary. Percy and I don't go to the Robles' box. Instead, I drag him to the gambling hall attached to one of the upper galleries, looking down over the audience, so we can have a private chat about what I overheard and conspire on what to do. Felicity put up a fuss at being left behind, mostly in whispers as we climbed the stairs with her hand on my arm, so Dante and Helena prancing ahead wouldn't overhear. I want to come with you. Well, you can't. Ladies aren't allowed. I nearly stepped on her train as she cut the corner of the landing in front of me. If you are scheming about the alchemical cures, please do it where I can hear. We aren't scheming. I didn't get to a fib fast enough, and Felicity's eyes narrowed. She darted up the step in front of me, cutting off my progress. You are scheming. Just stay in the box and keep an eye on Dante, won't you? See if he goes anywhere. Don't give me some nonsense task to make me feel included. It's not nonsense, just... I didn't know how to finish, so I just flapped a hand at her. Felicity tore her fingers from my arm, straightened her dress, then stuck her nose in the air. Fine, don't include me. Perhaps I'll scheme on my own then. I look forward to it, I said, then grabbed Percy by the hand and dragged him away. The gambling hall is gauzy with smoke and hotter than the summer air outside. It's a great effort not to loosen my cravat as soon as we enter. As we wait at the bar for whiskey, I recount to Percy what I overheard. From what I gather, they're meeting someone here tonight, I finish. Do you think we could find out who it is? Maybe we should get back to the box and follow Dante if he goes anywhere. A bit conspicuous, though, I suppose. What if it's the Duke he's rallying with? Maybe that letter I found was instructions for a meeting time. I bet it's the Duke. What if he followed us here from Marseille? I resist the urge to look around as though he might suddenly materialize at our side. I look to Percy, hoping he might lend some shears to my intellectual hedgerow, but he's pulling at his coat, fanning the collar against his neck. God, it's hot in here. Are you listening to me? Of course I am. But I think you're getting excited over nothing. Hardly nothing. Just because you found one letter from Bourbon doesn't mean they're on familiar terms. Then who else would they be meeting? Perhaps it's nothing to do with the alchemy, or their father, or us. Helena stopped awfully short when she realized I was listening. Well, you were being rude. I wasn't being rude. You were eavesdropping. No eaves were dropped. I was just standing about. It's their fault they weren't speaking softer. And that's not the point. The point is, something is going on, and I have a sense we're being conspired against. We need to find what we can about Mateo Robles' alchemical cures and then get away from here. Why aren't you as worked up about this as I am? The bartender delivers our shot glasses, and Percy slides one down to me with a smile. Because I don't want to worry about that right now. I just want to be out with you. We're here, aren't we? In Barcelona, at the opera. Let's enjoy it. He traces the rim of his glass with a finger, and it hums at his touch. We won't have many more nights like this. Don't say that. It's true. No, it's not, because we are going to find whatever secrets they have about alchemical cures, and then you'll be well again. On the stage, the soprano starts in on a punishing first aria at a pitch that makes the air tremble. I wince. Here then, let's play a game where we drink every time someone sings something in Spanish. Italian. What? He tips his head towards the stage. This is Handel. It's in Italian. Is it? Definitely Italian. I decide not to mention how adorable I find it that he knows all that just by hearing a few bars. The soprano strikes another blistering note and I grimace. Doesn't matter. I hate it. I tap the rim of my glass against his. To beauty, youth, and happiness. He laughs. Do we qualify for any of those of late? Well, we are indisputably young, and I am happy, at least right now, because I haven't had a proper drink in a fortnight, and I'm quite excited about this. And you are... I trail off, my neck starting to heat. Percy turns to me quickly, his eyes catching the light and reflecting a mischievous glint. I'm suddenly aware of my body in a way I wasn't before. Every twitch and blink, the way my shoulders sit inside this too big coat, the bob of my throat as I swallow hard, every point of my silhouette that his gaze touches. Love may be a grand thing, but god damn if it doesn't take up more than its fair share of space inside a man. I could tell him. Right here, right now, let it out into the light. Percy, I could say, I think you are the most beautiful creature on God's green earth, and I would very much like to find a hidden corner of this opera house and engage in some behaviour that could only be termed sinful. Percy, I could say, I am almost certain that I am in love with you. But then I think about that kiss in Paris, the way he pushed me away once I let slip a hint that it might mean something more than a random romp. He's been so fond with me since we reached Spain, in a way he hasn't since before I put my mouth on his that disastrous night. And that feels fragile as spun sugar, too sweet and precious to risk its collapsing. I'm what? Percy asks, mouth curling upward. The singer breaks off, the orchestra lapsing into an interlude. Percy's eyes flit away from me toward the stage, and I slap him on the shoulder. Yes, Percy, you're very handsome, I say, as flippantly as I can muster, then toss back my whiskey in 2 quick swallows. It burns as it hits my throat. When I turn back to him, that drowsy hint of a smile has vanished. He shifts so he's propped backward against the bar on his elbows, tugging again at his coat collar to ward off the heat. Then he leans suddenly into me and says, "Here, there's something I've been wanting to talk to you about. When we were in Paris..." He halts, and my stomach drops. When I look over at him, his eyes are fixed on a point across the room. "What about Paris?" I say, trying to be dead casual about it, but he doesn't seem to hear. "Percy? Look, it's Dante." "What?" I whip around and follow his gaze across the room. Amid the tables, there's Dante, hands in his coat pockets and shoulders pulled up like a turtle withdrawing into its shell. He's talking to an older gent in a white wig and a fine gold coat, his fingers curled over a silver-handled cane. The man smiles kindly at Dante, who looks to be stuttering something, but then shakes his head. Both Percy and I keep silent, though we're too far away to hear anything being said. The man bends down, forcing Dante to meet his eyes, says something that makes Dante go red, then makes to clap him on the shoulder, but Dante steps out of the way and instead he ends up swatting the air between them. The man smiles, then starts off toward the gambling tables while Dante flees the other direction, through the doors and back out to the boxes. "Do you think that's..." Percy starts, but I'm ahead of him. "We need to talk to him." "Who? Dante?" "No, whoever that is." I flail a hand at the white-wigged cove. He's already settled himself at a hazard table across the room. For a man with a cane, he's a speedy bastard. "Let's have a game. Get him talking, ask about the Robleses, see if he'll tell us anything. Maybe he knows about their connection to the Bourbon or what their father was doing with his alchemy, or anything about them." I start toward the table, but Percy catches me by the back of my coat. "Hold on, they're not going to let you sit at the gambling table for a chat. We're going to have to bet." "Oh." I glance over. There are only 3 empty seats left at the man's table, and one gets snagged almost as soon as I look. "I'll get chips," Percy says. "You corner him." Brilliant. I start away again, but then double back to him. "You all right?" "Fine," he says, though he's plucking at his shirt. "It's so hot is all. We'll make this the quickest card game of our lives. Meet at the table." I slide through the crowd, trying not to look like I'm making a charge for those 2 empty seats. A pair of swains are standing behind them, talking, one of them with his hand resting on a seat back, but I dive in before they can and fall, a little less gracefully than I had hoped, into the chair beside the man Dante was conversing with. He glances up from his chips and gives me a smile. I offer a big one in return. "Not too late, am I?" I say in French. "Not at all," he replies. "Welcome to Barcelona." "Sorry." "You sound foreign." "English. My friend and I are on our tour. He's gone for chips." "We don't get many English tourists here. How did you make your way so far south?" "Oh, this is going splendidly. We're visiting friends. The Robles family." His eyebrows meet in the center of his forehead. "Oh, are you?" Wagers, please, gentlemen, the caster interrupts. We're ready to begin. I resist the urge to glance around for Percy. Do you know them? The Robleses? In a professional capacity. I spoke with Dante earlier tonight, actually. I'm not what might be called accomplished at subtlety, but asking forthrightly, and what did you two speak about, seems excessively bold. So instead I say, what's your profession? I serve as warden of the city prison. Rather grim, I know. That was not what I was expecting. He shuffles his chips between his thumb and forefinger, then tosses a few on the table for the caster. Good for those poor children to have some company after all they've been through with their parents. I'd hardly call either of the Robleses a child, but I don't correct him. There's a tap on the table in front of me, and I look up. The caster is frowning. Your wager, sir? Just a moment. I lean into the warden. I'm quite concerned about Dante, actually. I haven't seen him since his father died, and he's been so tight-lipped about it ever since. Died? The warden interrupts. He hasn't died. But he's... What? Sir, the caster says, the wager. I try to swat him away. My friend's on his way. Sir, what do you mean he isn't dead? I demand. The warden looks rather alarmed by my vehemence, but says, Matteo Robles is a Habsburg sympathizer, jailed for refusing to aid the House of Bourbon when they took the crown. My heart is really going now. You're certain? I've been charged with his care by the king. He's housed in my prison. Do his children, sir, the caster says, if you won't be wagering, I'll have to ask you to leave. Fine, I stumble to my feet, searching for Percy. He's a hard fellow to miss, but the crowd is thick and the air smoky, and I am more than a bit flustered. I'll be right back, I say, partly to the caster, but mostly to the warden, then shoulder into the crowd. He's alive, is thumping through me like a heartbeat, and I'm tripping myself trying to work out what this means. Matteo Robles is alive, though both Dante and Helena had assured us he was dead. Dead as Lazarus, and here he is, risen again. I do 2 laps around the hall before the realization that I can't find Percy kicks its way through my discovery. He's not at the chips table or at the bar where I left him. I can't think where else he would have gone, and I'm starting to get frantic. Where are you, Percy? And then I spot him, slumped on the ground beside the door, his head between his knees and his hands shoved into his hair. My heart stands still for a moment, then begins to pound again for a new reason entirely. I shove through the crowd, with no care whatsoever for who I'm smashing into, and drop to my knees beside Percy. I touch his arm and he starts more than I expected. When he looks up, his face is drawn, thin beads of sweat gathering along his hairline. Sorry, he murmurs. What's wrong? Are you about to... He pushes his face into the crook of his elbow. I don't know. Right. Well, right. How about maybe, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. I'm fishing bare-handed in my stream of consciousness for some way to take charge of this situation and be what he needs, and I'm coming up empty. Do something, you imbecile. Let's go, I say, which seems like a good place to start, and I help Percy to his feet. He sways unsteadily, though that might just be the crowd jostling us. I slide his hand around my arm and lead him out of the hall. The truth about the Robleses taking second place to Percy. Everything will always be second to Percy. I'm not certain if he's about to fall into a fit, or how long we've got if he is, or if there's anything I can do to stop it. He's clutching my arm as I lead him down the stairs and through the lobby, into the courtyard, which, thank God, is cooler than inside and nearly deserted. In one corner, a grove of lemon trees clings to the stone wall, branches bowing under the weight of ripe fruit. I walk Percy over, hoping there'll be a bench or at least a hefty rock, but he doesn't seem to give a whit about the seating, for he sits down on the grass, then falls backward with his knees up and his hands over his face. He's breathing rather fast. "Please, not now," he murmurs, so soft I'm not certain he knows he spoke aloud. I'm fighting the urge to go fetch Felicity because she's so much better at this than me. Probably would have if it didn't mean leaving him on his own. I haven't a clue what to do, so I clamp onto the first idea that arrives before I have a chance to really consider it. I crouch down at his side and put a hand upon his elbow. It is perhaps the least comforting place upon which a comforting touch can be bestowed, but I'm committed to it now, so I don't move. I am doing the wrong thing, I think. I am doing the wrong thing, and I am going to do the wrong thing, and I am never going to be what he needs. For a time, we're both silent. Above us, the canary yellow lemons sparkle among the leaves, their rinds swollen and slick with starlight. Interwoven with the glittering chatter from inside the opera house, sounds of the city play from the other side of the courtyard wall. The clack of carriages and the soft shush of fountains emptying their throats. The thin peal of a watchman's voice sings the hour. Barcelona is a handsome symphony all on its own. Are people staring? Percy asks. His breathing is evening out, but he still looks poorly. No. I glance around the courtyard. A lady and a gent perched near the wall are giving us a glare that plainly implies we interrupted what was about to be his hands up her skirt. Want me to lie down as well? It's less strange if there's the pair of us. No, I think it's past. Certain? Yes. I just got rather an odd feeling and I thought it might be coming on. He sits up, closes his eyes for a moment, then opens them again, and I nearly collapse with relief. You can go back inside. Absolutely not. We should go. I'm fine, I promise. Come on. I climb to my feet, brushing my hands off on my coattails. Back to the house. What about the others? Shouldn't we tell them? They'll work it out. I hold out a hand to him, and he lets me pull him to his feet, a little unsteady on the slippery grass. We take a hired carriage back to the Robleses. A few streets from the opera house, Percy nods off, his head slipping onto my shoulder, then down to my chest. When the hack stops, I sit for several minutes longer before I shrug, very lightly, so that he raises his head. We're here. Percy sits up, pushing his knuckles into his forehead. Did I fall asleep? A bit. Ah, look, you've gone and slobbered all over my jacket. I take a swipe at my lapel. Dear Lord. Sorry. You were only asleep 5 minutes. How do you manage to drool that much? Sorry. He pulls his sleeve up over his thumb and tries to wipe it off and ends up smearing it into the silk. I bat him away and he covers his face with his hands, laughing. He doesn't seem quite himself yet, I'm still braced for the fit to come on, but he looks less flimsy than he did in the gambling hall, and when we climb out of the cab, his step is steady. The house is stifling, but a window is open in the parlour and the lamps are still lit. So it's there that I leave Percy curled up on the sofa, while I muck about in the kitchen, nearly lose a chunk of my hair and the skin off my palms trying to get water boiling, and spill at least 10 shillings worth of leaves from the jar. When I return to the parlour, I am victory personified, with kettle and teacup in hand. Percy raises his head as I approach and regards my offering with a peery eye. What's this? Tea. I made you tea. I could get something else if you want. There's wine around somewhere. What are you doing? I don't know. Helping? Sorry, you don't have to drink it. No, thank you. He takes the cup from me and has a cautious sip, then coughs once and claps a fist sharply to his chest. This is tea. Did I ruin it? No, it's... He coughs again, which turns into a laugh, and then he's laughing with his head tipped back. I kick the sofa leg and he's nearly unseated. A bit of the vile tea sloshes onto the upholstery. I set the kettle down on the side table and sink down on the other side of the sofa, mirroring his body so we are face to face, curled up like question marks with our feet off the floor and our knees together. You're hopeless, he says. And it is so strange and horrible and utterly lovely how the way he's looking at me makes me want to both back away and throw myself upon him. It hurts like a sudden light striking your eyes in the dead of night. He wraps his hand around his teacup again, his shoulders hunched. I'm all right now. Oh. My voice cracks and I clear my throat. Good. Thank you. I didn't do anything. You stayed. That wasn't much. Monty, I have never once woken from a fit and found the people who were there when it began still with me. My aunt has quite literally run from the room when I said I was feeling unwell. And I know it didn't happen now, but no one stays. He reaches out, almost as though he can't help himself, and puts his thumb to my jawline. The tips of his fingers brush the hollow of my throat, and I feel the touch so deep I half expect that when he moves, I'll be left with an imprint there, as though I am a thing fashioned from clay in a potter's hands. Percy drops his arm suddenly and lifts his chin, nose wrinkling. Something is burning. I set a fire in the kitchen grate. No, I think it's here. Oh, Monty, the kettle. I look over at the side table. A thin strand of smoke is rising from where I set the kettle. I snatch it up, though the damage is done. A perfect circle in charred black on the wood. Oh, damnation. Let's not burn their father's house down while they're out, Percy remarks. Is there a way to hide their father's house? I nearly dropped the kettle. Percy, their father isn't dead. Percy looks up from fishing some floating thing out of his tea. What? Mateo Robles, their father. He isn't dead, he's a prisoner. The man Dante was talking to, he's the warden at the city prison, and he told me Robles is locked up. He's jailed. Did he say why? Something about politics. I think he was on the wrong side of the war that the Bourbon family won. Maybe that's something to do with the Duke's letter. The letters! I leap to my feet and fly out of the parlour, still clutching the kettle. The study door is as we left it, propped and unlocked. I push it open, half expecting some trap to fall upon me from above. "What are you doing?" Percy calls. "The letters from the Duke. There might be more." I dash to the desk, nearly tripping on Percy's fiddle case, which is still just inside the door, and begin to pore through the letters in the box, searching for any more with the Bourbon crest on the seal. Near the bottom, another fleur-de-lis winks up at me from green wax, and I snatch it up. "Here." Percy joins me at the desk, sifting through the papers strewn atop it. Lucky they don't seem to throw anything out. With Percy going through the drawers that aren't locked and me working across the surface, we come up with almost a dozen letters with a Bourbon family crest set into the seal. He's not just writing to them, they're corresponding, I say, picking one at random and confirming the Duke's signature at the bottom before I scan the page. On the other side of the desk, Percy holds up another. This one's dated nearly a year ago. "They're all to Helena." Not all. He flaps one of the pages at me. "This one's for Matteo." "Upon the execution of our arrangement," I read, a phrase picked at random from the middle of one. What arrangement have they got? When I look up at Percy, his face is grave. The shadows from the firelight mottle his skin. "Monty, I think we should leave here. Tonight, or as soon as we can." "And go where?" "Anywhere. Back to Marseille. Find Lockwood. At least find somewhere else to stay until he sends funds." But what about Holland and the asylum?" I want to say. "We came here to help you, and instead we'd be leaving with nothing." Before I can reply, the front latch clacks from the hallway, followed by a bang as the door hits the wall and bounces back. Percy and I both freeze, eyes locked, then in unison begin shoving the letters back where we found them. Percy shuts one of the drawers too forcefully, and a glass beaker rolls to the floor and shatters. We both go still again, listening hard. There are the sounds of a scuffle outside the door and a clatter, like something's been struck. Then a voice that sounds distinctly like Felicity's gives a smothered cry, which is enough to kick into motion a strange mechanism inside of me that has never before been triggered. I snatch up the closest thing to a weapon I can find, the kettle of hot tea, which I imagine will do a fair bit of damage if tossed in someone's face. Percy, clearly of a similar mind, hefts a sword he finds wedged between two of the bookshelves, though it's too firmly attached to its plaque to be convinced to part, so the plaque goes with him. Together, we inch toward the door, weapons raised. Something strikes the wall from the other side. The canopic jars on the shelf jump. I fling open the study door and fly into the hallway, Percy on my heels. It is apparent at once that we have made a grievous mistake. Even in the dim light, I can clearly see Felicity and Dante collapsed into the wall with their arms and hands and mouths and abso-bloody-lutely everything all over each other. Neither of them appears to quite have a handle on what it is they're doing, but they're nonetheless enthusiastic about it. I'm not certain if I want to make a hasty retreat back into the study and pretend we saw nothing, or throw the hot tea in his face anyway. But then my foot catches that damned loose floor cloth and I pitch into the wall. The kettle leaves a crater in the wainscoting with a resonant thud. Dante shrieks and flails into one of the arbor statues beside the door. It falls with a crash. Felicity whips around, a long strand of her hair that's collapsed from its arrangement, whacking Dante in the face. "What are you doing?" she cries. "What are we doing?" I return, my voice coming out at a much higher pitch than anticipated. What are you doing? What does it look like I'm doing? We thought you were in danger, I cry. Dante bolts for the stairs, but I thrust my kettle into his path. A few steaming drops spill on the carpet. Don't you go anywhere. I've got very acidic tea, and Percy's got a sword with a stump, so keep your hands where I can see them. Felicity throws her head back. For the love of God! If I may, Dante starts, but I cut him off. Oh no, you don't get to say a thing. You and Helena are liars and thieves, and now you're trying to take advantage of us in every conceivable way. Monty, Felicity interrupts, but I've got too much momentum to halt. I am Sisyphus's damned boulder rolling down that damned mountain, and I intend to flatten the rogue Dante beneath me. You've got the Duke who wants to kill us writing your sister letters, and your father, turns out, isn't dead. He's in prison, so thanks for that lie. Monty, and now you're, what, keeping us here until it's convenient to slit our throats? But not before you played a bit of St. George with my sister. Jesus, Mary and Joseph, Henry Montague, for once in your life, be quiet, Felicity snaps. This wasn't Dante's idea. It was mine. Just a bit of a cold slap to the face. The spout of my kettle droops. Yours, I repeat. Yes, mine. I thought we'd be alone here. So did we. We came home because Percy was feeling poorly. Felicity looks to him. Are you well? I'm fine. He's got the sword hefted in both hands, but the tip is starting to sink. Blades are beastly heavy, with or without a dozen pounds of solid oak attached. Where's Helena? Still at the opera, presumably, Felicity replies, since we all four decided to flee without consulting the others. Perhaps we should discuss this in the morning. Dante has begun to creep again to the stairs, but I step in his path. Even if it was Felicity who dragged him here for a bit of tongue, I'd still like to slam him into the wall for going along with it. Stay where you are, I say. None of this changes the fact that you've been corresponding with the Duke who you claim stole a Basidio box from you. You went through our things, he stammers. It was right there on the desk, I say. Then remember it is not me on trial here, and add, you lied to us. But my sister was right. You came here to spy on us. We weren't spying, I say, at the same time Percy says, why did you tell us your father was dead? And Dante lets out a whimper, hands thrown up in a don't shoot gesture. All right, everyone into the study, now, Felicity barks, in a tone that is essentially verbal castration. And not a one of us protests. We shuffle in, single file, while she stands at the door like a headmistress, watching us with her arms folded and a glower in place. I set my kettle on the cold fireplace. Percy keeps the sword in hand, but Felicity snaps at him, put that down before you hurt yourself. And he lowers it beneath the desk. Dante lets out a visible sigh of relief. Sit, she orders, and we three all sit. Dante and Percy in the matching chairs before the desk, me on the floor, because Felicity's glare is making me afeared for my life if I delay. She shuts the study door with a snap, then whirls to face us. Now, she points a finger at Dante. You owe us some truth.
Felicity!
Yeah, fuck up, Felicity.
They left you at the opera, those assholes. You fucked them up.
Oh my god. The spout of my tea kettle wilted.
And so did
Great line.
Okay.
That was so good.
this wonderful moment where Monty was being terrible Monty, and he was like, but I'd still love to shove the guy into a wall for touching my sister or whatever. And I saw like 4 of us instantly be like, ugh.
Yep. Also, Felicity is hashtag boss babe.
She is so great. I love her so much. Yay! Yay, Felicity! Woo! Woo! Woo!
I love the scene where Monty thinks that Percy is playing footsie with him. My dreams are crushed.
And then that wonderful line where Percy's just like, why didn't you say anything?
Totally think he knew.
Oh wait, that's a leg. I thought it was a chair.
Oh, Monty. Oh, Monty. Oh, Percy. Talk to each other.
Dumb twig.
Talk to each other. Communicate. Ah!
That's your feelings.
Yes, yes.
Well, because we've been like so starved of like Monty and Percy action since Paris. Like any time that they look at each other like tenderly, I'm like,
And then the interruptions with comedically frustrating timing.
Yep. This entire book is just like an exercise in like literary edging.
No wonder you like it so much.
Exposed, but also fair. Yay! Yay! Oh, I am enjoying this. I am enjoying reading this to you. I'm enjoying it.
Great choice.
Yay! I'm so glad. I'm so glad. Right. My beautiful people. Catch up crew. Yes. We should say goodbye to the catch up crew. Catch up crew.
And sing the outro song because we missed the intro song.
We did. Okay. Ba ba da da di 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 shoo ba doo 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 ba ba da da da. Okay. Goodbye, catch up crew. Goodbye, catch up crew. We love you. Boo ba boo ba doo 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 doo.